It's best to learn things in low risk situations rather than learning something in a high risk situation where it could be dangerous. Some things we just have to learn by doing. Somebody can tell you how to do it, but you have to just do it to learn how to do it. In 2013, Edith and I went to the country of Nepal, and we visited there with Stephen Burkholder and the Equip uh, team there. Joe Kipfer and his wife Marilyn and their daughter Zora were there at the time, and so Stephen and Joe and I were going to take motorcycles and ride from Kathmandu down to the south part of the country to visit some of the homes where Equip was sponsoring orphans. And I've ridden motorbikes and motorcycles in Thailand, but the motorcycles there tend to be smaller and they have automatic transmissions, so they just automatically shift. You just do the throttle and it shifts by itself when it needs to shift. Well, the motorcycles in Nepal were a little bigger motorcycles and they had a clutch. So you had to use the clutch and the throttle, and it was just more complicated than what I was used to. And uh, and so it's kind of like if you're used to driving a car with an automatic transmission and you haven't driven a car with standard transmission, and then you try to drive a car with standard transmission, what's going to happen? Well, you're going to choke it off a lot, right? You're going to stall. And that's what would happen to me with this motorcycle with the clutch. I would get messed up downshifting and I would just, it would stall on me and I have to start it and go again. And what made it more complicated is to get from Kathmandu to the south part of the country, we went across a road that goes across two mountains, and a fair bit of the road over the mountains is switchbacks going up the mountain, and then you get to the top, and then you do switchbacks going down the other side. You cross a river, and then you do switchbacks going up the second mountain, switchbacks coming down the other side. And the switchbacks are so sharp that you can't see around the corner. So whenever you come to a corner, you have to blow your horn so that anyone coming the other way knows that there's somebody around the corner. And there were vans, small trucks that were going on this road, and it was basically about, it was a one lane road, but with the shoulder, you could barely pass. Two vehicles could pass, but it was really tight. But on the corners, you couldn't pass anybody on the corner. So if someone was coming, you had to wait until they came around the corner. And the vans would go so fast that we had to yield the right of way to the bigger vehicles as motorcycles. And at a lot of the turns, there were no guardrails. It was just a drop, thousands of feet down into the valley. I told Stephen at one of those turns, what you don't realize is that I don't know what I'm doing. And if I get to one of these switchback turns and I, by accident, hit the throttle instead of the brake, and I shoot out over that turn, it's going to be months before you find my body. And he kind of reassuringly told me they wouldn't even look for it, like it would be hopeless. So, uh, so that was that. That was encouraging. At least they wouldn't waste a lot of time looking for me. But as we were going up the mountain, I came to a hairpin turn, and a van was coming the other way, and it blew its horn. So I went to stop, but I didn't get off the side of the road enough. I stalled the motorcycle because I wasn't doing the clutch and downshifting properly, and I stalled the motorcycle. I was still on the road. The van came around and had to stop because I was on the road. So I'm trying to get the motorcycle started, and I'd get it started, and then I would try to go, and I would choke it off and stall it. So finally I decided, and the people in the van, they're waiting, like the van can't go by. So finally I decided, okay, I'm just going to push the motorcycle off to the side, let the van go by, and then I'll figure it out. Well, when I went to push the motorcycle off to the other side of the road, the motorcycle probably weighed more than I did. And anyway, it fell over. So now I have the motorcycle laying on the side, on its side in the middle of the road. So I got it up, and in my panic of getting this motorcycle up and wanting to get it off to the side of the road, it fell over the other way. And I could just see the people on the bus kind of like, oh, look at this foreigner. He can't even keep a motorcycle upright. And by that time, Joe Kipfer had stopped and he came back and helped me push the motorcycle off to the side of the road. And Stephen came back then and was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to get my blood pressure down, calm my heart rate down, and I'll be okay." So eventually I got the motorcycle started and took off and we were fine and made the trip. But, I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was learning something in kind of a high risk situation. And it probably would have been better if I would have driven around more before I started up over the mountain just to get used to the clutch and the throttle thing and how that all worked before I went up over the mountain.